you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything. Yeah. You add a bunch of, if you're going to kill a guy, you add a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit like that.
You have an old man put his dick out and yell, I did it, I did it.
Yeah, you get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and you talk to him on Discord.
Joe Rogan has interviewed thousands of people, fighters, politicians, scientists, actors, controversial figures, yet every once in a while he encounters a situation that pushes his instincts into overdrive. This time, it wasn't a guest on his show. It wasn't a politician dropping a bombshell or a celebrity revealing a life-changing secret. It was something far more personal, far more uncomfortable, and far more unexpected. It was the behavior of Erica Kirk, widow of the late Charlie Kirk. Charlie's passing stunned millions. His influence, his activism, and his presence in conservative circles made him a national figure. His sudden death forced people to search for answers, closure, or at the very least, honesty. But instead of clarity, Rogan noticed something else. Something subtle, something faint, but something his intuition refused to ignore. In the early days following Charlie's death, Erica appeared calm, composed, almost overly prepared. Her statements were polished. Her expressions never drifted too far from neutral. She rarely paused, stuttered, or slipped. While millions were grieving, struggling to process the shock, Erica seemed steady. Too steady. Rogan has spent decades analyzing the faces and voices of guests from every possible background. He knows when someone is emotional, hiding, confused, or forcing themselves into a public role. And for him, Erica's demeanor didn't match the emotional weight of her reality. Not the weight of a widow, not the weight of a woman who just lost her husband under circumstances still questioned. In conversations on and off air, Rogan carefully avoided accusations. But he couldn't ignore the feelings that kept digging at him. Why did her interviews sound rehearsed? Why did her expressions look controlled? Why did her words appear so carefully packaged? He wasn't accusing her, but he was questioning the narrative surrounding her. And for Rogan, questioning is not an attack, it's a responsibility, especially when something doesn't sit right. This moment marked the beginning of his doubt. And as days passed, the doubts grew louder.
We just found out that Charlie Kirk got shot.
It's fucking awful.
Charlie Kirk's death didn't just shake political circles, it shook the entire online ecosystem. Discussions exploded, theories circulated, and supporters demanded transparency, accountability, and truth. Yet, in the middle of this storm, Erica's silence became a point of curiosity. Not grief, not breakdown, silence, but not the natural silence of someone shattered by loss. Instead, it felt curated, controlled by timing, wording, and public strategy. Erica didn't disappear into private mourning. She didn't release an emotional statement that reflected raw pain. Instead, she stepped outward, calmly, with what felt like a prepared narrative. Rogan noticed this immediately. He often says that real grief leaves fingerprints, shaky voices, unpredictable emotions, fractured sentences. But Erica's presence was smooth, almost too smooth, as if every sentence had been edited before it left her lips. The media, already desperate for sound bites, began shaping their own versions of events. Some defended her composure, others questioned it. Supporters were confused. How could someone remain so calm in the face of such devastating news? Rogan didn't rush to judgment, but he also didn't ignore the emotional discrepancies. When analyzing body language, he looks for patterns, moments where reactions don't match the situation. And with Erica, he found more questions than answers. Her interviews lacked the signs of unresolved grief. Her speeches lacked the tremors of heartbreak. Her social presence lacked mourning in any traditional sense. Instead of withdrawal, she leaned into visibility, smiling, appearing at events, discussing projects, and projecting strength that felt out of place. Was she truly this composed? Was she masking everything? Or was there more happening behind closed doors? Rogan doesn't believe in coincidences, not when emotions and public narratives collide. The contrast between the public confusion and Erica's demeanor lit the first spark of doubt. Not accusation, just doubt. And in Rogan's world, doubt is the first step toward deeper investigation. The first real red flag appeared during one of Erica's earliest interviews, an interview that Rogan privately examined more than once. In the clip, the host asked her a simple question: how are you handling everything emotionally? It should have been the moment where her composure cracked, even slightly. A question like that hits directly at the heart of grief. It exposes whatever vulnerability lies beneath. But instead of an emotional break, Erica delivered a perfectly structured sentence about strength, faith, and responsibility. No pause, no swallow, no emotional shift, just a clean, scripted response. Rogan played that clip multiple times. He asked himself the same question each time. Is this how a grieving spouse responds, or is this how someone trained to manage optics responds? The difference was important. He didn't expect her to sob publicly. He didn't expect her to collapse on camera. But he expected something human, something unfiltered, something raw. Instead, he got media-ready phrasing, delivered with calm precision. Another red flag arrived in her posture. Most grieving spouses unconsciously fold inward, shoulders slumped, a heaviness in their movements. But Erica sat upright, chin steady, never blinking too long or allowing any discomfort to show. Every gesture felt intentional. Then came the issue of timing. Just days after Charlie's passing, she was already discussing upcoming public engagements, sharing smiles, and talking about moving forward. Rogan wasn't judging her for seeking stability, but the speed, the consistency, and the confidence didn't align with the emotional chaos that grief usually brings. Some people heal quicker, some people mask. But there was a pattern, a rhythm, to her reactions that didn't match the reality of what she was experiencing. Rogan sees patterns for a living. He's trained his mind to question what seems too polished, and this was polished, too polished. As the red flags accumulated, Rogan wasn't looking for scandal. He was trying to understand what felt off. Something wasn't aligning. Something wasn't matching the emotional truth of the situation. And that's when Rogan's curiosity shifted into concern. While millions focused on what happened to Charlie, Rogan focused on something entirely different. What happened around Erica? He started asking questions that no one else seemed willing to ask. Why did Erica's narrative remain so consistent? Why did her tone never shift? Why did her emotional baseline never fluctuate? He wasn't suggesting wrongdoing, he wasn't pointing fingers. But for Rogan, consistency under trauma is rare. Too rare. Trauma destabilizes people. It breaks rhythms, disrupts speech, and creates unpredictable emotional currents. But Erica's presence remained steady across interviews, statements, and public appearances. It was as if she had rehearsed her grief, or worse, prepared it. This realization led Rogan to evaluate her interviews differently. He began to notice subtle linguistic markers, phrases often used in media training. I want to honor his legacy. We are focusing on positivity. I believe everything happens for a reason. These challenging times require strength. Every phrase was clean, preserved, balanced. Not messy, not human, not shattered. Rogan knows when someone is trying to protect others from their pain. He also knows when someone is trying to protect themselves from scrutiny. And with Erica, he wasn't sure which it was, or if it was both. He asked himself a key question. Why is she so careful? Careful people protect something. Protective people hide something. Hidden things often point toward deeper, unspoken truths. Rogan wasn't accusing her of deception, but he recognized emotional choreography, control over expression, timing over honesty. With every appearance she made, Rogan felt the same thing. This isn't grief, this is performance. But performance for what? To maintain public image? To avoid questions? Or simply because she didn't want the public to see her vulnerability? Rogan doesn't jump to conclusions, but he also doesn't ignore behavioral anomalies. And Erica's behavior was becoming one. The turning point came when a phone call discrepancy surfaced, one involving Erica and a mutual contact, Mikey McCoy. The two versions of events didn't match. The timelines were off, the emotional tones were mismatched, and the details, according to multiple insiders, seemed strangely inconsistent. Rogan knew from experience that grief often distorts memory, but it doesn't distort it cleanly. It creates confusion, not contradiction. But the contradictions between Erica's account and Mikey's were too sharp, too neat, and too separated to be accidental. Erica claimed she was informed about certain details at one moment. Mikey claimed she reacted differently and at a different time. Erica described her emotional state as composed but devastated. Mikey described it as measured and oddly unemotional. These weren't small shifts, these were narrative shifts. Rogan replayed the statements like puzzle pieces that refused to fit. If two people tell slightly different stories, that's normal. But when two people tell stories that feel curated, sanitized, or edited, yet still contradict each other, that's when Rogan pays attention. Rogan isn't a detective, but he understands human behavior deeply. He has listened to thousands of personal stories, tragedies, confessions, and raw truths. And one thing he has learned is this: people telling the truth don't sound perfect, they sound human. But Erica's story sounded perfect, and Mikey's story sounded emotional. Those two worlds couldn't coexist. The more Rogan analyzed the discrepancy, the more he wondered whether the narrative was being shaped instead of shared. Was Erica protecting someone? Was someone advising her? Or was she simply detached in a way that most people struggle to understand? It didn't matter which explanation was correct. What mattered was that the contradiction triggered Rogan's deepest doubt yet. This wasn't just unusual behavior, this was a crack in the narrative. And where there's a crack, Rogan believes there's always a deeper story hiding underneath. While the world waited for answers, Erica continued appearing in public, smiling, speaking, and maintaining a level of composure that didn't align with Rogan's understanding of grief psychology. He had seen countless people open up about trauma on his show, and one thing always remained true: trauma leaks. It slips into your breathing, your posture, your speech, your choices, your silence. But Erica showed no leakage. Instead, she demonstrated a controlled emotional profile. Steady voice, measured tone, confident posture. She talked about healing, moving forward, and embracing positivity. While admirable, it didn't sync with the expected emotional timeline. Rogan noticed an almost immediate shift from grief to brand maintenance. Instead of disappearing from the spotlight, she stepped further into it, discussing new projects, collaborations, and public engagements. Rogan didn't judge her for wanting to stay active. Grief looks different for everyone, but the speed of the transition struck him as unusual. Her social presence also began raising eyebrows. Pictures surfaced showing her at events looking cheerful, polished, even radiant. Comments online ranged from supportive to suspicious, questioning why a widow of a recently deceased public figure seemed so comfortable reclaiming her public persona. Rogan analyzed the shift carefully. Some widows shut down for months, others break down publicly, others try to survive by working. But rare, extremely rare, is the widow who immediately steps into structured publicity with no signs of emotional disruption. it wasn't just her composure, it was the consistency of it, day after day, week after week. A stable emotional pattern with no spikes, no dips, no visible internal conflict. Was she emotionally detached? Was she hiding her pain? Or was she navigating a narrative crafted for public consumption? Rogan didn't know, but he did know that people under genuine emotional pressure don't maintain flawless performance. And Erica's performance was flawless. Rogan prides himself on intuition. He has spent decades observing patterns in human behavior. People reveal themselves through tone, pauses, micro-expressions, and emotional inconsistencies. And the more Rogan watched Erica, the stronger his instincts screamed. Something is off. Not criminal, not malicious, just off. This wasn't the natural unfolding of grief. This was the careful presentation of an image. Rogan sensed self-protection, not vulnerability. He saw preparation, not emotional exposure. And he heard crafted sentences where he expected fragmented truth. The shift from instinct to suspicion happened when Rogan noticed the absence of grief markers in her interviews. Markers like emotional fatigue, irritability, hesitation, or sudden internal dips. Instead, Erica displayed what psychologists call controlled neutrality, a state almost impossible to maintain consistently after trauma. This level of emotional governance usually appears when someone is either 1. Highly media-trained, 2. Deeply guarded, 3. Or consciously managing a narrative. Rogan considered all 3 possibilities. He wasn't accusing her of orchestrating anything, but he was questioning the authenticity of what the public was seeing. And in Rogan's world, when authenticity collapses, suspicion rises. His audience, noticing his subtle reactions during discussions, began asking the same questions. Is Rogan implying something? Does Rogan sense deception? Why isn't she reacting like a grieving widow? Rogan never said it directly. He didn't need to. His doubt lived in the spaces between his words, in the pauses he took, in the tone he used when her name surfaced. He didn't accuse Erica, but he also didn't defend her. Because deep down, Rogan felt a truth he couldn't articulate yet. A truth formed not from evidence, but from instinct. And his instinct told him, this story is not as simple as it appears. Rogan's doubt didn't come from a single moment. It came from everything put together. The controlled interviews, the perfect statements, the curated calm, the phone call contradictions, the public composure, the rapid return to appearance-driven visibility, the emotional neutrality that never slipped. One detail alone means nothing. But a pattern is a story. Rogan realized that he wasn't doubting her character, he was doubting the narrative being presented around her. The media, influencers, insiders, everyone seemed to tiptoe around her, protect her, shape her image. And the more they shaped, the more Rogan questioned. Why was everything so clean? Why was everything so polished? Why was everything so consistent? Real grief is messy. Real trauma doesn't follow a script. Real heartbreak bleeds into life in chaotic and uncontrollable ways. But Erica's grief followed a pattern, one that looked more like public relations than personal devastation. Rogan didn't accuse her of deception. He didn't suggest wrongdoing. He simply voiced what countless people felt but were afraid to ask. Why does it feel like she's holding something back? Maybe she is grieving privately. Maybe she is being advised. Maybe she is simply stronger than people expect. Or maybe, just maybe, there is more beneath the surface than anyone has been willing to confront. Rogan's final realization wasn't that Erica was lying. It was that the truth surrounding her may not be fully revealed. And until it is, Rogan's doubt will remain. Not as an accusation, but as a warning. Something about this story doesn't add up. And the world deserves clarity.